psyche, which is illusion, and seeing the unseen.
Okay. Hello guys. Grizzly here.
Growth and decay powers are powers of the
I just pulled up the live stream on Diablo4 official YouTube channel, so we're gonna watch the Campfire chat together.
So you might be going for a fire.
Everyone feel free to comment, to come say hi. And let's watch it together and hope it's better than the previous seasons.
And unique builds that really are special to just this season.
Every class can use every power for every build.
There is also lost witchcraft power that can be found while you're adventuring.
This is a special witchcraft power that exists outside the purview of traditional witchcraft powers.
So let's put up the full screen here. Sorry guys.
Whispers, they will earn the seasonal currency. This seasonal
Already just watched it. Let me know if it's too loud or too silent. I can fix it for you.
An eldritch power would be a new power, Doom Orb, an ominous orb of pure eldritch energy that circles you and burns enemies with fire damage. Doom Orb gets stronger as you slay enemies and will eventually explode. Doom Orb will also launch itself at enemies if no enemies are near you. So we do have some returning fan favorites coming back in Season of Witchcraft. Players who are fans of our franchise will remember some of these powers are from Diablo 3, specifically the Witch Doctor. Fire Bats is returning from Diablo 3. Those who have played the Witch Doctor also remember the Hex skill, the Toad of Hugeness. However, it's been reimagined for Diablo 4 and Season of Witchcraft. This is the Poison Frog Servant.
I just think it's adorable, and I want to have a murderous pet frog follow me through Sanctuary.
Of all the witchcraft powers, something tells me that players are probably going to be the most excited.
Didn't really test it on the PTR, to be honest.
Effectively a whirlwind
Didn't have much time because of the PoE 2 early access.
Your enemies to pieces. And yes, it does pull enemies towards it.
So players will be unlocking and upgrading their various witchcraft powers through performing headhunts. You're going to see that there's an area in the world where the Tree of Whispers has
another green hillside.
The head rotten
Just kidding.
There. You need to go hunt them down. When they interact with other monsters in the world of Sanctuary, best case scenario, they horrifically corrupt that monster to become a new headless form of itself. Worst case, they actually affix themselves to a monster and become a new boss-like entity that has this ancient rotting head on top of this now puppeteered body.
There is a horror in them, a sort of Frankenstein-esque monster. So they have more humanoid traits, but even stronger powers.
Like flaming swords they're going to be throwing at you, or they might be using poison axes that are hurled your way, or even shadow spears that tear up the ground. So these are going to be some new encounters that you've never seen before. As you perform various whispers in the area, hopefully you see briars out in the world. These are going to indicate that there's a head rotten there. If you manage to successfully take down one of the head rotten and claim a fugitive head, this can be returned to the witches at the Tree of Whispers, and you're going to get special seasonal sockables as a reward.
This is a nice idea in general with its effects, but again, let's see if they're gonna add some challenging endgame content, because this is a real problem here. I'm pretty sure even if you don't use the seasonal buffs, you're still gonna be overpowered if you know what to do and what to follow there.
So we've seen a lot of great feedback from our players on what are the various features that they most want to see in Diablo 4 to make our game even better. One that's come up quite a few times is an armory. When you save a build,
guys, please let me know if the stream is running poorly or anything. If there's anything I can do to fix it, but I think that everything should be good.
You'll be able to access the armory UI from any major city. You're going to be able to pursue multiple different builds on one class at the same time. This can be pretty cool when leveling up, but it's especially fun once you get into the end game. At that point, whenever you find a cool item that, oh man, this is really strong, but not for the build I'm running right now, oh, but you can still use it. You can still save out separate sets and try to pursue getting really powerful setups of very different versions of your class at the same time. I am excited of what it could feel like to constantly be swapping between these different builds and seeing which one is the most powerful.
I'm excited for people to just immerse themselves in the season.
Me personally, I'm very likely going to be running a companion druid
some
build
issues with my stream right
have
now.
a giant werewolf army. Hell yes.
We have a quest line that is different and emotionally gut-wrenching.
New witch powers, fugitive heads, New whispers.
Really interesting bosses that have unique attack patterns.
Oh my goodness me.
Legendaries, and new runes for Vessel of Hatred players.
There's a lot to try out here, some builds that have never been present before. I'm excited to see what players do with it.
Okay, let's see. It's starting.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our first Diablo stream of 2025. We had an excellent holiday break, super relaxed, and very excited to bring you Season of Witchcraft.
Yes.
As you might have seen
So excited.
this Tuesday, we announced Season of Witchcraft is coming on January 21st. We've got an excellent show for you today. Today we're joined by some familiar faces. You know, Mr. Charles Dunn, welcome.
Hi, I'm Charles. I'm a game designer on the live balance team.
And I'm Aislinn Hall. I am a systems designer on Live Balance.
Aislinn, great to have you back. And all the way from Albany, New York, Mr. Dan Tangway, welcome back to the stream.
Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Dan Tangway. I'm the design director for Live Services.
Hey Dan.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining
Please
us.
give us
As
good
you can all
news.
see, Season of Witchcraft is upon us.
Give us
Huge
end
shout out to
game,
our production
please.
team. We've
I
got
beg
some
you.
absolutely disgusting heads that we bore from the Tree Whispers. You can't see on this guy yet. I might give him a spin later on, but the teeth on him are absolutely horrible. Yeah, without further ado, to give you a brief overview for the stream, we're going to walk you through the seasonal content, so Season of Witchcraft. Excited to get into it. Then we'll head over to some class and balance updates, give you a brief preview of some new uniques coming to the season. Should be pretty exciting. And then we'll have some system updates and get into some exciting features coming with Season of Witchcraft that have been much anticipated for a long time. Then stick around because we'll do a Q&A towards the tail end of the stream. And we'll get into all your questions. So
Let's
I
see
do
what
have
they
Twitch chat
did
open that I'm
and
looking
how
at.
did they
And
nerf
we'll
the
be collecting
Spiritborn.
questions throughout the stream for our
I'm
devs.
99% still gonna be the
Before we
best
jump into
class.
Season of Witchcraft, we do want to
99% sure. It's still gonna be broken.
We had the 2.1 PTR. Thank you to everyone who jumped into this PTR. There was a ton of content.
Prove me wrong.
We did have some exciting features. Like, I gotta ask you, Aislinn, like, how did it feel to get the armory finally into
Oh
people's
my
hands?
gosh, I've been waiting for so long. I'm so glad it's finally here. The armory feels amazing to use. It's so great to finally have it in the game. Anyone who hasn't had a chance to try it yet, it's going to be a godsend in Season 7. You're going to love it. It's just such a useful tool, and we'll go more into the details later, but wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has the same sweater as me, by the way. I just noticed.
Charles, did you get any
Oh my
feedback
goodness.
on uniques,
Yeah.
any of the balance changes?
Team Lilith,
Yeah,
baby.
from the PTR, we got a lot of great feedback on
Team Lilith.
balance and
Hey, guys.
all the new content for classes,
You guys
like
can see it now.
the new uniques, new legendaries, all the tweaks and adjustments to skills. Your feedback's been invaluable. Not only like feedback written up on social media or on our forums or elsewhere, but also just like in the raw data, the player data, our telemetry has been very helpful in making sure that this season and every season is as best as it can be when it actually launches.
Yeah, that's a great point, Charles. Like, one thing we did want to touch on is, even if you don't see your feedback represented throughout the stream, because we will be touching on different feedback across all the sections from our PTR, we do still internalize all that feedback and take it through and help, make decisions throughout future seasons. So all the feedback is very much appreciated and really does help inform that content. But yeah, there was a ton to chew on in the PTR. Like, we had all our witchcraft powers in there. Like, there's an absolute smattering of content. But very excited to throw it over to Dan Tangway. Can you let us know what players can expect in Season of Witchcraft?
Yeah, let's talk about the Season of the Witchcraft. There's a lot to cover at this point. You got a bigger chunk of it than you had in previous seasons in the PTR, but still, we've got some surprises in store that we want to share with y'all. So let's get started. First off, the Season of Witchcraft. Dozens of heads are missing from the Tree of Whispers.
Okay.
And so the tree is hell-bent and really just ticked off. It wants to find them. I mean, these heads were part of a bargain. The tree is all about
So we're
keeping
gonna
your
do more
and
whispers, I
now
guess.
that bargain is broken. So
Whispers
the tree's
2.0.
down. Full stop. Now the witches have summoned you to the tree, and they're offering you a deal. If you can get those heads back for them, they'll offer you the secrets of witchcraft. So that's where we begin.
Okay.
And the first thing, we're going to have an all-new quest line. And that new quest line is going to be you unraveling the mystery of those missing heads.
Okay.
And while you're doing that, Like I said, you're going to be earning wild witchcraft and occult gems. We have a new activity called Head Hunts, and that's going to allow you to pursue whispers, slay Head Rotten, which is the new enemies, the new family of enemies that we have this season, and find those missing heads. In addition to the Head Hunts, you're also going to have Root Holds. These are new micro dungeons that allow you to discover bonus Head Rotten and also their bosses. And then finally, we've got some updates to the season journey that we'll cover, including a new pet named Dorian, which is a pet raven. This is our first flying pet, so we're pretty excited about that.
It's kind of cool, but let's see if they added something else and something more, because...
So, witchcraft, at least as we're
I mean, flying pet actually sounds cool. If it can pass through everywhere, doesn't get stuck or doesn't need to teleport to you every now and then.
There are 3 schools of magic within witchcraft. We've got Eldritch Witchcraft, and that's uncanny magic that, you know, is just weird and bizarre and very of the swamp. You've got Psyche powers. These are powers of the mind and spirit. And we've got Growth and Decay, and that's magic that both heals and harms your enemies.
Okay.
Going to take a look at some of these in action. So first up, we're going to have Eldritch powers once we get our clip going.
Come on, get us the clip. There
and right here, we're seeing that we've got Fire Bats, which is a classic power from the Witch Doctor that we brought back this season.
That looks nice.
Doom Orb. Next up, we've got some Psyche powers here, and we're using Vengeful Spirit, which is kind of hanging around you and zooming between enemies, and the Horror of Lament, where you see these psychic projections of hands.
It's kind of cool for melee characters.
Finally, we've got Growth and Decay magic, and
look at
the
the radius of this thing, though.
That's Grow magic, and that's been paired up with the Poison Frog, which you see in the corner.
There's a Shred Droid.
Away on the Head Rotten there.
Some kind of hybrid
those are
droid
some
build.
Good examples of the types of magics that
maybe
you're
just
be able
leveling
to
though.
use in this season, and you'll start seeing them sprinkled all throughout the rest of the clips that we're about to show you. Next up, let's talk about the Head Hunts. So, I said before the tree was really mad, right? Because it's missing its heads. And so what it's doing is actually
give me
calling
back
out
my
all
heads,
new whispers, and it's just furiously searching for these heads. But it can't do it on its own, so when it calls out a particular zone, because it knows roughly where the heads are, it calls its agents to help it out, and you're one of the tree's agents, so you can go and solve some of those whispers and get rewarded for them.
Right.
Now, the Head Hunts are special zone takeovers that complement the Hell Tides. So, folks on the PTR called them Witch Tides. Sure, you can call them that. But the idea is that
green Hell Tides
these aren't just replacing Hell Tides. They're there to supplement them in terms of what you can do in the overworld. Now, these are going to be swarming with.
But so far, again, this is a leveling mechanic,
monsters that have fallen under the influence
early
of
end game
the
mechanic
heads,
at best.
and the heads have transformed them in really grotesque ways. Now, these Head Hunts, like I mentioned, are going to feature all new whispers mixed with some existing ones as well. Completing a whisper unlocks what's called an exposed root, and that gives you a chance of actually triggering what is a cocoon. And these uprooted cocoons have a chance of then spawning a Head Rotten boss. So every time you complete a whisper, you've got a chance at triggering a boss. And occasionally, a boss will spawn from one of these, and then everyone in the zone can work together to try and take down that boss.
I see.
And if you're really lucky, that boss will have one of the missing heads associated with it. So let's take a look at some of this in action.
It's kind of similar to the
we're going to check out
Season 2 mechanic with Zir when there was the another
allowing you to,
green Hell Tide there you have to farm
these,
and there was
innocent
a way to summon a
wildlife in
boss.
this area to safety. Very simple, but
Let's
the witches want to make sure that no one's harmed by the Head Rotten. Next up, we've got some villagers that are trapped in bramble in an entangled whisper. And so you're trying to defeat all the enemies around there in order to free the
Oh my god, it's so much color and purple. Is this Diablo?
Following that, we're actually going to get a view of one of the exposed roots as it transforms into this uprooted cocoon. And so, much like some other open world boss fights. There's going to be some combat leading up to the boss spawning.
Okay.
And that first cocoon actually didn't have a boss in it. But you
Yeah,
still
it's
got some
exactly
rewards
like
from it, so we're going to see if this second
Season
cocoon has a
2.
boss in it. So we're, continuing to clear Head Rotten, and indeed a boss does
Legacy
spawn.
of Zero,
Now,
whatever it was
unfortunately,
called.
it's not a boss with a missing head. This is a headless
Oh, yeah.
host, but still, it's going to be pretty rewarding to defeat this. So hopefully everyone in the area realizes that, there's a boss in the air, and they're going to come help you defeat this. And
It's so similar to the
is a
Helltide.
good peek at what
Though,
hunts are
still,
going to
I
be.
mean,
but let's go back to the tree now.
it gives you
because,
gives you
really wanna
different
take you through
things,
some of
a
the
little
steps
bit
on how to learn
revamped and
new witchcraft.
stuff, but the
So,
concept, the general idea is
let's
kind of the
talk about
same.
that.
I mean, I'm not
So
hating,
the first
I'm
thing
just
that's
being
really
honest here.
important when you want to learn new witchcraft is that you're always going to be earning Covenant's favor from completing Whispers. And that's going to unlock new witchcraft at certain tiers
Okay.
of the Coven favor board.
This is the way
Now,
to collect those.
additionally,
Okay.
as you're killing those Head Rotten that I showed you before, you're going to be earning Restless Rot. Now,
It's so
Restless
much
Rot
Season 2
is something that you
2.0.
can offer as proof of a kill to the altar.
I hope
earn
there's
that new
more to it.
witchcraft.
I hope it's not
And
the...
then you can use
I
it
hope I'm wrong.
also to upgrade your witchcraft directly in your UI. One final note I want to make here is that we decided to use witchcraft and these seasonal powers as a way to help boost your alts. So that means that whenever you upgrade and unlock a piece of witchcraft, that's going to stay upgraded and unlocked for all your characters on your account for the rest of the season. So it's going to be a great leg up for, trying new characters in the future. But let's take a look at some of this in action. All right, so here we are in the Tree of Whispers area, and we're looking at the Coven rep board. And we'll see right up here that on rank 7, you actually unlock some more witchcraft. So we're going to go over to our altar now. Now at the altar, we're going to take a look at a list of things that you haven't learned yet. And each of these costs Restless Rot to earn. And so you're going to learn Grow. And now Grow has appeared in your witchcraft inventory to the right. And you're also going to look at upgrading Abyssal Resonance. That was a bit of a mouthful. And we can upgrade it from rank 3 to 4 by just applying the Restless Rot directly. But head hunts aren't the only places that you're going to be able to find Head Rotten. Let's go, actually no, I'm skipping ahead. Let's talk about Forgotten Altars first. So there's a bit of a twist on earning some of your witchcraft. Not all the witchcraft that you can learn is actually known by the Witches of Hawazar, or the tree for that matter. Some of it has just been lost to the world. And so these take the form of lost powers that you can find on Forgotten Altars out in the dungeons of Sanctuary.
This means...
So as you're adventuring through your dungeons,
so you can find it like...
you will find some lost powers that you can't get anywhere else.
Alright.
And so it should be pretty exciting to stumble
Hey,
across.
Grace Kelly, how are you? I'm good.
Can't
Just
remember
watching
if there's a
Diablo
button on
4
here, so let's take a look. Yeah, there is
Campfire
indeed.
chat live stream
And
here.
so real quick, going through
Welcome
a
to
dungeon,
the channel.
you see a Forgotten Altar, you interact with it, and then a new power is unlocked. Now the cool thing about these is that if you find more altars, you can upgrade your powers by doing this, but you can also upgrade them through spending a premium price of Restless Rot. So you've got a couple options for upgrading these once you're able to find them. Now we're going to talk about the root holds.
I didn't know about this one.
So root holds. Root holds are micro dungeons, and so these micro dungeons are home to some of the Head Rotten and the Head Rotten bosses and the missing heads.
It's like the dungeons from season 5.
Hide underground. And so each of these contains a really concentrated population of Head Rotten and their rewards, and they require a new type of sigil called the Whispering Wood in order to access.
Yeah.
And so these drop from whisper caches.
Sounds familiar.
So as you complete those whispers,
the names are changed. The idea is
as well as silent chests,
a little bit different,
which
but it's kind of the
pretty
same
common
thing.
in the headhunt areas. So let's take a look at a root hold. First off, we're going to open our inventory, and in there is going to be a Whispering Wood, and we're just going to trigger that like we would any Nightmare dungeon. And then we're gonna teleport right into our root hold.
Yeah, it's the same way as the as the Inferno Horde sigil.
All right, now we're in the
or
root hold,
it's like a Nightmare
couple of
Dungeon
interactions,
2.0
actually
with some
4.
other things.
These are rites and ceremonies. These are interactions that allow you to increase the challenge in the root hold in order to get more rewards. And if it reminds you a little bit of Hell Breaches, well, it is pretty similar, but unlike those, you can actually do multiple rites and ceremonies instead of just one.
Okay.
And when you take those on, then all the enemies and all the interactions afterwards have been impacted. And so we're going to fight through some of the head rotten here. Like I said, root holds are a pretty good spot to get a concentrated dose of them. And you also get a number of guaranteed roots that you can try and uproot as well, which is great.
Just
we'll
look
watch
at the
a little
loot.
bit more of this, and then
Been
we'll
playing
culminate with a
PoE
boss.
too for like a month and a half now.
One more battle first.
This kind
but
of
I'll
loot
say
is
that
insane.
each root hold is
I
guaranteed
mean, unless
to
you're
have a
playing
boss at the
Breach,
end,
but wow.
which is nice if you want
Looks
to
so
start really
buffed.
trying to grind to get your missing heads.
Oh boy.
Now let's take a look at the boss. Oh, well, this boss actually has a head, so that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
okay.
Because a lot of them don't.
So there are two types of bosses,
we're gonna
headless,
kill that boss, and that boss is
and
going to drop a missing head.
those
We're actually
that
gonna take
have
you back to
heads
the
on
Tree of
them.
Whispers now.
So whoever has
So
head, he
taking you
has
back
a
to the Tree
chance
of
to
Whispers, we're
give
gonna
you the
talk to
head
the
for
witch,
Trees of Whisper.
and we're
And
going
you
to be
gotta
able,
hunt
in
them.
return for giving her this head, craft an occult gem. And
Interesting.
this gem, I think we're going to craft as an Elder Sigil. And
I kind of like the
slot
system,
that
you know,
into
the
one of our
concept of
rings.
gotta catch them
So
all.
let's do that right now.
So
Here we
they made some kind of fun interaction to catch everything, and
the
you have
Elder
something
Sigil is
to
not only going
roll,
to
and
provide us some defense like you would
on
get
top
from
of that,
your
make it a little bit more
a
challenging. Then
diamond
that will
or
be
skull
interesting.
that you've slotted into a ring or not a talisman.
Again, I'm hoping for endgame mechanics there.
But also, it's going to give you some additional bonuses above and beyond that. But I'm dancing around it. What are occult gems? And so let's talk a little bit more about what occult gems are at this point. So occult gems are special socketables. And these socketables are going to really help you fine-tune your build after you have kind of a good foundation of witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they're crafted, like you saw, using the missing heads returned to the Tree of Whispers. They can only be slotted in jewelry slots, though, your talismans and your rings. And they only last for the season. Now, when items transfer to the Eternal Realm, they disappear forever. And they build on top of your witchcraft powers. You know, they're going to provide item and skill bonuses for certain witchcraft combinations. So, if you really like the Piranado, for example, you're going to be investing in Hex and Aura. And if you invest a lot in Hex and Aura, it probably is wise to try and find an occult gem that also builds on top of those things as well.
So wait, just gonna pause it for a little bit. So it seems like they've, you know, gathered the mechanics from like the Malignant Hearts in Season 1 and the Vampire Powers from Season 2 and then the Rune Words and these things, and just kind of, you know, just twisted those a little bit and played around and got something in the middle with those gems. I still didn't understand, are these gonna be like substituting your other regular gems? Is this only for oh, this is only for the jewelry. Okay. So yeah, I guess those gonna be substituting the other gems that you usually use for armor or resistances.
And that'll really allow you to fully enhance your build while you're entering and then playing through the end game. All right, so we've talked a bit about occult gems. While we were putting all this together for Season of Witchcraft, we also saw some really good opportunities to improve the quality of life of the Whisper Loop. So let's talk through a couple of those right now. First off, we've updated the town area around the Tree of Whispers.
Yeah, I saw this one.
It's
a big W. Should have happened long time ago, but still.
And that group of outcasts has grown this season. Not only do the witches make home there, but there's a couple of new people there that provide additional services. And we've also actually put an extra armory in there too, so you can make use of that. Now, while you're out...
Falcon dude, leave the girl, man. She's just a VTuber and she's just advertising. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, yeah, I had the scenario like 50 times, but anyway, let's get back to the stream.
And headhunts, we've also added a new feature called the Raven of the Tree. And this allows you to basically make submissions to the Tree of Whispers.
Yeah, that's
turn in
like a
your current
portable
favor
Tree of
in order
Whispers.
to be able to get a cache
Like a
immediately
pocket
on the
version
spot,
of the Tree of
instead of
Whispers.
having
This
to
one is
return
quite
to
good.
the,
This is smart.
Tree of Whispers
Again,
itself.
it's more like a quality of
And,
life change to me, though.
It's convenient, sure, but it also allows you to really stay in the moment. If, for example, a new boss is triggered or something like that from an uprooted cocoon, and you want to join in that, you go over to the Raven of the Tree, turn in your grim favor, and then get right back into the battle again. And finally, we've got some ancestral caches. These are a new type of cache that we've added that guarantees an ancestral item. And we wanted to make sure just that the Whisper Loop had, full range of items that it could drop. So we're pretty excited to be able to share all of these with you, as well as some new improvements to the season journey. So let's talk through those real quick. Now, with the season journey, we realized that a lot of casual players use the season journey as a way to figure out what to do next. And we also realized that our early chapters hadn't really been helping the casual players as much as we would have liked. So we've reworked a lot of those early objectives to help casual players more, because we want to see more of them get into the end game.
Yeah.
Now, the later chapters, though, didn't feel especially challenging to us, so we've tried to improve that. Chapter 7 especially, we've reworked to really provide some more aspirational goals for players. And this is something that we're just going to continue working on in future seasons as well. Now, we've asked you to do a lot more.
Okay, again, casual-friendly things there.
Give you a really great reward too.
What about the
So
blaster-friendly
this is where you
things?
can earn Dorian the Raven. And like I said at the top, this is our first flying pet, which is pretty awesome. So let's take a look.
Okay.
I mean,
it sounds cool, but let's see if it sees like if it's cool as it seems to be.
Yeah.
If it can pass up through rough terrain,
Yeah, Dorian's gonna be
that'll
wonderful.
be great.
You know, ravens love shinies, so him picking up your gold is just
As long as it can pass through walls and everything like this, and obstacles.
Finally, I think I'd like to chat through some
I'm happy with that.
PTR stuff. So Charles is going to cover a lot of the updates we made to the powers and occult gems, because that's what his team focused on. But the Seasons team really focused on some of the headhunts and systems, and took a lot of your feedback and really tried to improve the game prior to launch. So here's a couple things that I just want to cover real quick. First off, the multiplayer headhunts felt overwhelming for a lot of new players. And so we've done a number of things to tweak the headhunts to make sure that they don't feel as overwhelming. First off, we've made some targeted reductions to the number of elites. There were just a lot of elites on the PTR. And so you're still going to have a lot of monster density as you're fighting through these headhunts. But hopefully this will make things a little more manageable, because we also had to reduce the number of, not the number of bosses, but the frequency at which they spawned. We've got bad luck protection to make sure that, you will eventually see a boss spawn as you're playing through a headhunt. But we had to dial that down just a little bit because they were coming up quite often. We've also reduced the number of low-value item drops. We had heard from a number of you that you were spending more time picking up a lot of items that really weren't good, instead of actually battling the head rotten, which is what we want you to do. We've also reduced the number of active headhunt zones from 5 to 4. And then finally, we're going to add a new HUD element. A number of folks had pointed out that it wasn't really clear that completing Whispers was the thing that actually triggered the roots and then the cocoons. And so we've got a HUD element that will definitely illustrate that better. Unfortunately, that's not going to come till release 2.1.1, which is going to be roughly 2 weeks out from launch.
Oh.
Now, head rotten,
Really?
especially
You're
bosses,
not ready
were not
with
challenging
everything?
enough. So that's another thing that we've looked to address.
I mean,
We've increased the head rotten barrier effect. Previously, it was around half health. We've made that full health now. And we gave the head rotten a very small percentage of damage reduction as well.
Okay.
We've given you a lot of cool new powers in form of witchcraft.
I'm just gonna let the guy finish.
We want to make sure the head rotten serve as a good challenge for you as you're building out your witchcraft powers. Next up, head rotten bosses were just not rewarding enough across the board, so
Wow.
we've increased their rewards to a level that's closer to a Blood Maiden than what they were previously. And then
Wow.
finally, some players
That's
didn't
a
quite
lot,
understand
actually.
how to earn and upgrade Witchcraft, so we made some changes to help with that. Each altar is going to contain the same inventory now, instead of having unique inventories.
All right. Just pausing again. Sorry. I mean, these stuff are nice again, but I mean, this is again a casual friendly thing. And for those of you who are gonna say, yeah, but they just said that they're buffing the barrier and the damage reduction of the head rotten bosses. Okay, fine, but again, there's nothing new. I mean, practically, if you just gotta stack more DPS, and DPS is not gonna be a problem this season again. I mean, I can see this season as with so many new ways to deal even more broken DPS. I mean, come on. Maybe there should be something. I hope we can, by the end of the campfire chat, we can see something different and challenging, some kind of interesting mechanics, because currently boss fights in D4 are just, just gear up, go there, and one shot the boss. I mean, that's not interesting. You get tired of it in a week, even less. Again, this is just looks like a casual, friendly, to me.
And that way you don't need to try and figure out which altar you need to go to in order to learn something. And we've also rewritten a lot of
They just made it a little bit more interesting and more
very clear about
variable for casual players, basically.
But yeah,
I don't think that there's any
covers
challenging
it for
content.
PTR learning.
Even if I haven't tried this
And
season
I'm trying to
yet.
think if there's anything else, but I think I'll pass it back to Irvine.
No, I think you covered all of it, Dan. That was incredible. That was an absolute ton of content. There's just so much to dive into with this season. Like, I think I can speak for everyone. Like, between root holes, witchcraft powers, occult gems, like, there's just so much in the mix to dive in and get used to. And like, it all kind of comes back to headhunts that you can kind of use as a zone to get through, like, to get into all the content.
Yeah.
Which is super exciting. So Dan, thanks so much for walking
We'll
us
see
through all that.
how much ton of a content there is. Again, this is only for casual players so far.
So if you want more information on
Blasters probably would have accomplished everything by end of week 1, but that's just me speculating.
So if you have any questions, on during the Raven or on witchcraft powers, occult gems, or anything to do with season witchcraft,
usually it takes me up to 4 days to cover the whole content, the seasonal content and kill Lilith and just, be able to speed farm everything on T4.
Different occult gems, the different witchcraft powers, but to finish off that equation, of course, you need to get all the balance updates for the season.
Yeah.
So, Charles, can you take us through what's coming?
Of course, yeah. I'd love to talk about how you're going to attack these head rotten. Like, what is your build going to look like, and what are some of the new uniques and legendaries that you're going to get to play with in this season?
At least we're matching sweaters.
Before getting into each individual class, I want to talk about some of our broader initiatives on the class design side that kind of affect every class in some way. Specifically, wanted to talk about how we did some ultimate skill updates in this patch. For ultimate skills, we're now we're able to get skill ranks on them starting in season 6, the previous season. Yeah. But now once you get them up to rank 5, you're going to get a special bonus. And we found these to be really flashy and fun on the PTR. People love playing with ultimates, and you get to cast them more often. They've got more effects. They had some scaling to ways to scale their damage with these rank 5 bonuses sometimes. We did find that some of those exact scaling numbers were a little on the higher side. They were a little bit more powerful and kind of crowding out non-ultimate builds. Right. We love that people are playing these, and we want them to be powerful. Right. But there are certainly some times when it's a little too much, and it feels like you can't play anything else. Right. So we are taking a pass across the board on some of those ultimate scalings to bring them down just a little bit, but we still expect them to be very powerful and very fun. Secondarily, we've got the summons update. This was a big pass across summons from Necromancer, their skeletons.
Still, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't really remember any OP builds that was using primarily
the barbarian
ults,
ancients,
right?
Even.
I mean, ultimates
so
are like
update, without getting too technical,
more for like buffing your
damage.
damage.
What happened was all
Not
of the
really
damage
used for
that your
clear.
summons do is going to be attributed to the player and not to a separate entity that's kind of separated from you. And what that ultimately means is that all of those summons will now inherit your damage bonuses more consistently.
Okay.
Anything that
Alright.
says you deal increased damage affects
They're
your
trying to
summons. Just
fix
out of
this
box,
since
it
the
works
game
for
is being
everything.
released.
It's just more consistent interaction across the board. Any of your lucky hit effects that says, hey, you've got a lucky hit chance to stun an enemy.
Alright.
All of the damage from your summons also can trigger that now. And this is great for
I mean,
consistency
especially
across
druid
the board.
summoning builds
Previously,
are-
it was sometimes inconsistent
Nah.
what would work with
He
what.
does so much improvement there.
And I'm particularly excited about Shadow Clone, as we'll talk about in the Rogue section coming up. But that was one that, historically really never hit the mark for an ultimate skill. And with this new update, we think Shadow Clone is going to really live up to the promise of like really duplicating your actions in a way that feels meaningful and does tons of damage exactly like you'd expect it to.
Yeah, I mean,
it's going to be very powerful.
I mean, he's right. Like whenever I played rogue builds with Shadow Clone, it's most like I don't know, it's like a buff. You don't really use it as a main damage dealer, but it's always this. I mean, it's the same thing with everything else. That's ultimate. I don't know. You guys can think of anything else because usually ultimates are supportive. Support skills.
Forward to it. And summons truly are just an extension of you now and all of your power. They're inheriting all of that properly, and they're going to blast. It's going to be great.
Absolutely. The one last kind of big picture item that we took away from the PTR was about crowd control effects. We noticed that there's a whole lot of what I call incidental crowd control effects, things that happen from lucky hits or procs. Specifically from the Worldly Fortune Tempering Manual that gives you lucky hit, chance to stun, or chance to freeze an enemy, as well as particularly from the Fist of Fate unique items.
Hi Ochi, how are you, buddy?
We found that it was often the most common way to build your character in the late game was to really stack up these effects, and then you're just applying a lot of crowd control on this lucky hit cadence rather than actively pressing crowd control buttons or really opting into it. And we do think that once it gets to a certain point of that, it can make our combat less engaging, where enemies just randomly get stunned or frozen without you.
You're not streaming today, probably that's why you're.
But then it also makes
sick.
it very frustrating when you don't lucky hit and an enemy hits you that you expected to have got hit with this. So we're looking to potentially address that in a future season or future updates. We don't have any changes regarding the crowd control here in Season 7, but it's one of those examples of the learnings that we're going to take forward to future seasons and potentially look at improving this so that we can make our combat feel that much more engaging and actually get a little bit of back and forth between you and the enemies a bit more than there currently is, especially in the hyper late game situation when your characters are really maxed out.
Alright, so if I understood correctly, they're gonna nerf the CC effects that you're applying with your lucky hit, with your skills, with like Fists of Fate and items like this. So probably what they need is maybe you build up stagger way too fast and you apply CC in so many ways that it's no longer feels engaging with the boss mechanics and stuff. Not sure what to say here. I mean, I can give my opinion, but maybe I'll hold it for after the live stream because it's gonna be a long comment.
So with that in mind, let's get on to some of the individual
I don't know,
classes,
man.
starting with
Honestly.
the Barbarian.
Seems like there's not that
Barbarian
many
on
people
the
right now.
Season 7 PTR was performing quite solidly. We were
I
pretty
expect
happy
people
with
to be
where
playing for
Barbarian
another
went.
week or two in
We
the beginning
are
of
really
next season,
excited
but
about,
so far
Hammer
we
of the
haven't
Ancients and
heard
this
nothing
Earthquake
about
build with the new
endgame.
unique, which we'll show in a moment.
Absolutely nothing.
We do think the Hammer of the Ancients part of that maybe could use a little bit
And
more
endgame is what
buff,
keeps
so we
people
put some buffs
engaged in
there,
the
as well as to
game itself
Whirlwind.
here.
That build was definitely
See how
falling
it's
a bit
in
behind some of the other
PoE2.
builds. But on the whole, we definitely expect Barbarian to be really powerful and a strong option going forward.
Okay, Bar
Let's
back
take
to
a look
tier
at the
1,
unique
baby.
item, the
Like
Mantle of
5
Mountain's
seasons
Oh, yes.
of
This
domination,
empowers
one
your Hammer of the Ancients to
underperforming
cause
and
a
now
seismic
back to
line.
God tier
And
again.
if that line hits an earthquake, it's going to explode that earthquake for massive damage. A big fire explosion.
Oh boy.
Looks so sweet.
Looks cool.
Very
intense.
Not gonna lie,
very
it looks
powerful,
cool.
And right on the Barbarian fantasy of just hitting things with
Lead
big
bar
weapons,
builds
making
are
earthquakes,
always
making
fun
explosions.
since D2.
Yeah, that's ludicrous.
I love it because like the flavor of Hammer of the Ancients is like hit the ground and smash it, and
Yeah.
this is just
Yeah.
taking that and amplifying it by like 100 times.
Oh, absolutely. So really excited for this and to see.
It looks
how
nice.
this
I mean,
performs
I'm not gonna
in
lie.
Season
It looks
of the
nice.
Witchcraft. Up next, we've got the Sorceress. So the Sorceress, kind of.
I can imagine. Sorry to pause again, but I can imagine this barb with this armor. Chest piece combining this with other earthquake abilities and leap, and it's probably gonna clear very fast because leap has a huge range when upgraded, and if combined with the right runes, it could be a very nice speed clear build. But that's just me speculating again.
Contrast, the Barbarian was by far the weakest class on the PTR.
True.
No getting around that. We made some
Sorcerer's
adjustments
always
going
fucked
into
up.
the season
I mean,
that
sorry.
we maybe overshot
Except for
and
season
brought
6
Sorceress down
when
a
it
little
was
further
broken.
than we'd be happy with. Particularly changes to Conjuration and Burning bonuses. We're happy with how that affected build variety, but the overall power level suffered. So with that in mind, we're going to do a lot of buffs mainly on the passive effects for the class to really kind of bring all of their numbers up by just a little bit across the board. I specifically wanted to call out our changes to Searing Heat and Icefall.
Let's
These
see.
are legendary Paragon nodes that previously were very build specific, like you would only use Searing Heat in a burning build. We've made some tweaks to it where it's still good in a burning build. It's probably
Oh,
better,
see, they're learning.
but it also has some applications across all builds and all damage types. So these will just be a little bit more generically applicable, but still very good for the
If
build
this
that
is
you're
gonna
looking
be
for.
something like a hybrid build, I'm happy
With
to
that in
hear
mind, I'll
and
show
see
some of
that.
the, updates
Finally, they're
to
learning
Firebolt
something from Path of
enchantment.
Exile.
This is one that we had reworked as part of those burning changes, and we thought even on the PTR it wasn't quite hitting the mark. So now, dealing burning damage, if you take this enchantment, will have a chance to heal you for some of your maximal life, which it already
Okay,
did,
so basically
and
this
it
enchantment
also
is a
unleashes bonus
sustainability
firebolt
effect.
onto a nearby enemy. So that you can see in this clip here, when enemies are burning, they're just randomly firing off some extra firebolts to nearby enemies that can really help to spread that burning
Okay,
and
but-
take down big packs.
Yeah.
All right,
a little cheap
okay.
Firebolt now.
Exactly. Yeah. Also, wanted to highlight some of the new uniques coming.
It's a nice
in
change.
this season.
It's a small
So
tweak,
Sorceress
but still a
has
nice
two.
change.
The Strike of Stormhorn
Oh.
is a unique focus that's going to modify your ball lightning
Oh.
to give you super ball lightnings sometimes.
Hmm.
So it'll always fire out straight forward, and it's a little bit faster. And occasionally you'll get the super ball lightning.
There you
which
go.
will explode for a big chunk of damage.
Now, this
again
looks
in a
nice.
Cone shape, and also stun enemies.
This is the stuff we want to see. Something
Exactly.
more.
You get us right. Stormhorn.
Even though that's nothing
Exactly.
way too crazy still,
Alternatively, you
but
can
it's
take
a
the
progress.
other unique focus
It's
that is
something.
really
It looks
introduced in
good.
this season, Okun's Catalyst, to kind of play Ball Lightning the way it's often been played.
Yeah,
in the past,
season
with
2,
gravitational
Ball
effect.
Lightning
We've done
Sorcerers
some
coming
rework
back.
on the gravitational aspect that previously did that, and now it will be in this unique, where the Ball Lightnings will orbit around you and do damage to enemies who are close by. You really want to
Okay.
get close and in that action. Where
So
the
now
form, you're playing
you
that
can
a little
do
bit more
this
range.
Right.
We really like how
With a
doing
specific
the
item, you don't
paired
have to do it
uniques
with
where
an
you kind of
aspect.
have a choice. Hey, what focus do I want to use? They are going to be mutually exclusive. You can't have both.
They're in
But
the
that's,
same slot.
that's because they're so different and they're different play styles. But we think putting these into different uniques gives us the space to really live up this fantasy. You know, give you lots of affixes and bonuses that.
Okay, I
make it
can see
as
my
powerful
friend,
and really help enhance that.
Happy in the
fantasy that
chat.
we're
Maybe
hoping,
he
to
can
play.
he can
Yeah,
tell
and Okun's
he
Catalyst
can
really
share with
gives you
us
that, like,
what he thinks about this.
transformative ball
But
lightning
in general,
experience,
it's
which is like
nothing
a
new,
ordinary
right?
Ball lightning, but Strike of Stormhorn kind of just amplifies the original ball lightning experience, which is just.
This was a
shoot
fun
out
build. I
and
even
have it
I
explode
played it as well in
this
season
magnificent
2.
blast of energy. So I love that we are allowing both of those to shine.
I think I cleared like tier 14 or
Alright, on to the
15
next
with it
class. We've got
on
the
Abitur
Druid.
of Zer.
So the Druid on the PTR
Oh,
did have
let's
one bug
hear
build.
for
One
my
of their legendary Paragon nodes was causing
favorite
the
class.
damage to scale way higher than we intended.
Please,
Occasionally we'd even
give me
kind
something
of break
good.
the game and go, you'd see negative damage numbers. Definitely not intended. We
Oh.
fixed that bug.
Okay.
But despite that, we think Druid on the whole
Wasn't
was still
aware
in a
of this,
solid
though.
place even without that. We've made a number of adjustments and reworked the blurred beast aspect. This is one that we had tried out a rework on the PTR, and it wasn't quite hitting the mark. It wasn't quite as engaging to play as we had hoped, so we did a rework to it to help improve the shred builds for Werewolf. Additionally, I wanted to highlight some of the Spirit Boon updates. These were
They've
the
changed
Druid class
the
mechanics
shred
that
build a
created these
bit.
Spirit Boons.
They've added some new
Historically,
passives
they've
or
been a little
tweaked
bit
the
falling behind, and
passives.
we've done some big buffs here to make them really powerful. I especially like the Gift of the Stag. It's my favorite one. It gives you passive spirit generation every second.
Yeah.
Okay.
That really helps smooth out the Druid's early game in particular when they're
Oh, that's
starting
good
to
because
get their
I don't know
resource engine
if you guys
online.
know, but Druid
They
is
were
like the
definitely
worst
one of
class
the
for
slower
leveling.
classes early on, and I think this update to the Spirit Boons is going to really help that.
Yeah, totally. And that's just such a great example of how the update is going to help them because Druids have typically struggled with generating spirit in the early game, and so having more access to that's going to help a ton.
Yeah. Let's take a look at a clip of the new Blur Beast rework. So on the PTR, it would do some bonus strikes based on how far you traveled. Now your shred will just always have a chance to land additional strikes, but it's going to roll that randomness 4 times. So if you get real lucky on your shred, you're going to hit so many times on that target, which really helps amplify the fantasy of werewolves.
Yeah, that looks
fast,
cool.
Striking multiple times.
Kinda.
This aspect is super fun to play, and I absolutely love what the art team did with this, combining
nice.
the mechanics of that feedback on the extra strikes with the actual additional slashes going out. It looks awesome.
This looks overpowered.
All right, on to the Rogue. So the Rogue...
Wait, what? Is this the only thing they're gonna say about Druid? Really? Just a single skill? What the? Oh my goodness. Okay, so I was just about to say, I mean, okay, that's fine, but there's this problem again. You have a skill, right? You pick up the core skill, which in this case is Shred, and then you have just 2 branches. And there's like either this or this. I mean, 2 choices already feels bad, man. Like, feels very limited. And now you buff one of these pretty much, and you kind of make it the only good choice. Where's the diversity in that? I mean, everybody's gonna play this thing now. Oh boy, same old problems. Sorry, I don't want to hate, but it's just how I see it, and I'm kind of disappointed because this is the only thing they said about Druid here. Maybe there's gonna be more later on. Let's see.
A very strong
Let's see
class
about the
on
rogue
PTR.
first.
We thought it was in a great spot, very powerful, particularly with Rain of Arrows.
Yeah.
Rain of Arrow builds were already a pretty common, pretty powerful build before the season, but with the new changes to introduce the additional scaling damage.
Rain
on
of
it, they
Arrows,
were just
really?
Absolutely.
Am I the only one who haven't
So
heard
I
of
will say
some
that, of
god
course,
tier
as
Rain of
part
Arrow build, or
addressing the ultimate changes across the board, we did bring down the scaling a little bit on Rain of Arrows, but we do think that it's still going to be a very compelling choice. Rogue and ultimate skills are going to be just fine going forward into the season.
It'll be good.
Also, I want to talk a little bit about
have I
Shadow
missed
Clone. I know
anything
I teased that
here?
earlier with the
I mean,
summons
yeah,
update.
no, I haven't played for like
Shadow
2 months.
Clone was probably one of the biggest
They didn't
updates
do
in
any
this
changes
season
in between.
to really make sure it worked with all of your damage, all of your bonus effects, all of your procs.
Yeah, okay.
And especially work with a lot of your legendary
They're
effects
gonna
that
treat
modify
it
your
like
skills. So previously, if you had, say,
like
Fusion of
a-
Flurry, and you had the
like
aspect
an app,
of encircling
basically.
blades that would cause Flurry to hit all around you, your Shadow Clone wouldn't know that you have that. It would just kind of attack like a normal Flurry. With this update, it'll now copy all of your legendary effects. Just as if you were casting the skill yourself, it comes from the Shadow Clone, and it works with all of those modifications.
And that's huge.
Absolutely.
It's a lot more damage.
All right, I mean, okay, but damage. All we talk about is damage. Where's the fun in that? I mean, one-shotting everything is not fun. Would it be so much better if they I mean, buffed the Shadow Clone in a way? Let's say, okay, it's gonna do like 120% more damage or 200%, doesn't really matter. But at the same time, it copies you, but with like 5-second delay. So you have to really think about executing the right mechanic, go around bosses and just kind of try to trap them and think of something more engaging and more skillful. I mean, this just came on top of my head. I mean, imagine something very powerful that copies you, but like 5 seconds after. And this way you can just stack all your buffs and debuffs and everything. And you can just invest to prepare a huge attack by this ultimate, like in 5 seconds or so. Anyway, let's keep going.
Yeah. I really think, I love Rain of Arrows. I love Death Trap, the other ultimate options on Rogue, but I think Shadow Clone, it's time to shine.
It
this
is.
season.
Shadow Clone hit the gym.
Rain of Arrows, guys. Come on, I haven't been
Let's
playing
take a look at a
Rogue
clip
recently,
of
but
the new Shadow Clone in action. So here we've got.
it was like 95%, 99% Season of the Spiritborn in Season 6. Anyone that played anything different, I mean, on a Rogue was Dance of Knives, because this was the hype on the PTR. I just don't, I just cannot connect the dots here. Where did you see a Rain of Arrows overpowered build? Where?
The Aspect and Circling Blades, the flurry that I mentioned earlier.
Oh, baby.
Doing the big AoE around both you and the Shadow Clone. Additionally, with twisting blades, when they come back and orbit around you,
Twisting
that Blade
Blades
Dancer's
was always a
aspect,
nice
they'll
and fun
also
build to play.
come back and orbit around your Shadow Clone.
Wonderful.
Charles, you're going to make me do a rogue flurry Shadow Clone build this season.
Yeah, it should be great.
Okay, it's
Let me know
looking
how that
good
works
again.
All right, on to the Necromancer. So
there's some kind of a delay,
was probably the
but
class
still
that
nothing skilled
benefited
there.
most from a bug with the scaling of the ultimates. As I mentioned, there were some scaling with different stats, and whenever there was 2 stats involved, particularly on Army of the Dead, then it was actually increasing the damage far higher than we had intended. So we have fixed that bug, and we've addressed it. But with that in mind, Necromancer is definitely the biggest benefit of the summons update. I know Shadow Clone is great, but you know Necromancer is the summons class.
Of course.
So
I agree, but
by far the most. All of their
is it gonna be
skeletons and
again
their
relying
golems
on
are
a
now gonna
golem,
much more
or it's gonna be a
consistently
skeleton
interact
army,
with
more
your lucky
like
hit procs, your bonus damage effects, anything that increases your damage output will also increase the damage output of your minions. And on the whole, we really expect the summon Necromancer to be at its peak going into this season.
Amazing.
So channeling my Adam Jackson here.
Were they able to?
Minion stomps are
Were they able to
absolutely
fix
going up
the
this
minion
season.
block though? The minions following you in
Additionally,
executing
we've
the
got
attack
some,
and everything
new,
correctly?
just like the sorcerer,
Smart target
we've got,
and stuff like
2
this.
uniques that talk to blood.
If they fix the AI, I'm all up
Or
for
the
it,
legendary,
because the
sorry,
AI was
ultimate
quite
skill.
bad.
We've got 2 different unique pants that can enhance your blood wave in different ways. Let's take a look at a clip of those. So first we've got Indriel's Memory, and this is going to be kind of your standard blood wave. It still flies forward, but when it hits the end, it's going to trap enemies in a bone prison. Additionally, it modifies your bone spear to also become a blood skill. Now you've got a blood spear.
Right.
And with the
Okay, this is
here,
interesting.
casting your bone spear reduces blood waves cooldown. It really promotes the synergy between blood and bone. And
Okay, this
a
actually
nice
has
loop
some
of
nice
cast blood
ideas
wave,
there.
and then
This
trap them
actually
in
is
that
not
bone
their
prison.
their
Hey, that's
worst
perfect
idea at
for
all.
lighting up this blood spear, and by casting that, you're going to reduce the cooldown on your blood wave to be ready for the next pack.
Right. This unique alone really makes blood and bone, like a blood and bone build, come alive, which is cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
The alternative, you could use Kasemi's Legacy. This one changes blood wave. Instead of one
Oh, yeah.
wave going
I remember
forward,
this one from the
you've
PTR.
got 2 crashing in from both sides, and it's going to pull
Wall of
enemies towards
Death.
you, and when it hits, it's going to
Falcon dude, this one's for you, buddy.
That's awesome.
It's so cool.
Feeling
It's
like
transformational
on a
the way you
death
think
metal
about it,
concert.
The way you position it, and what your use case is, right? It's not for pushing enemies away. It's for bringing them in close.
How cool
and-
would
and
it
really
be
wanting to get the thick
if
of
they
combat
put
there.
some metal music?
Yeah, it really makes me think
whenever
about
this
like a more
happens.
melee or close range centered necro build, whereas Indira's Memory makes me think about a
This
ranged-
thing's
Absolutely.
this
This
thing's
is,
nice. You can
full
probably
mid,
scale
set up
the
a blood
size of the
surge to
wave
hit
and
enemies right around
everything.
you. So definitely looking forward to see,
It's gonna be
blood
interesting.
wave being played in a number of different
Okay,
ways.
so
in this
far
new
the
season.
Necro's winning by a lot.
And finally, we've got the
improvements
Spiritborn, of course,
and
our
skill
newest class,
improvements.
which is very strong. It was very strong.
Oh, wait a second. I'm seeing Razor Wings. By the way, for those of you, none of you actually know, but I only had like a couple of hours invested, and I decided to try the Razor Wings because no one played it because it wasn't broken. This has the potential to look really cool, and I tried doing my own builds, but I didn't invest much time, but whatever I tried, it wasn't that bad. I just had some things to figure out. But let's see what they changed now. It's gonna be interesting, and I hope they finally fix the bugs and everything, because Spiritborn currently is the best class because it has everything. It has survivability, it has damage, it has mobility and utility, everything, basically everything. The ability for you to dash through the, to the enemies, from an enemy to an enemy. This is just insane.
Previous season, or what's currently live on season 6, we did some adjustments to some of the bugged interactions that was causing their damage to scale way higher than intended, as well as a handful of nerfs across the board going into the PTR. That being said, on the PTR, we still found them to be a very strong class, arguably still the strongest.
Duh, what a
So
surprise.
with that in mind, we didn't really make too many changes. We really wanted to make sure that we brought some of the other classes up to that level, and we think the Spiritborn is in a good place. So there was actually very minimal amount of numerical adjustments to Spiritborn going into this season. With that in mind, I want to highlight the Razor Wings build. There's a new unique item, the Sun-Stained War Crozier, as well as a new aspect, the aspect of Endless Talons. That's going to really help enhance this Razor Wing
guys,
build.
show it.
We've got a clip of that. So we've got the Sun-Stained
Yeah.
Crozier.
I actually tried
That's
this
going
one.
to enhance all of your focus skills. They automatically benefit from all of our upgrades. You don't need to invest skill points in there. And by casting it, you increase the damage of your potency skill, your Razor Wings, whenever you're casting.
Let me guess, it's gonna be the
As
season
Razor
of the
Wings is a
potency skills.
skill. Yes, absolutely.
And I believe there was
Yeah, so
something
we're really looking
that
forward
can
to
also
seeing how,
transform
this
your
Razor
potency
Wing
skills
was maybe
into
a little bit
something else like
underrepresented
core
on
skills. I'm
the
not
current
sure
season,
though.
and we're really looking forward
Again,
to these
this
unique and
interaction
legendary to really bring it up to par.
is always
All right,
what's
so that
making the
covers
builds
our class
broken.
updates, and once again, I kind of went at high
It was the
level
same
on
way
class
with
because
the
actual
core
number of
slash
changes were
basic skills
rather,
last
you know,
seasons
there's a
with
lot
the
more than we didn't want
Spiritborn.
to just throw up all the numbers for every single class. So I kind of painted a broad picture. Make sure you check out the patch notes for the actual changes that should be coming right after this stream.
Yeah, the patch notes are massive, so buckle up for those. They're quite long.
For
We
sure.
went through those.
Okay,
that'd be
we're
like
getting a
4-hour
huge
stream,
bunch
so-
of
but,
patch
diving
notes
into those
file. I'm
first.
gonna review it.
Luckily for some
Maybe
of
I'm
the
gonna
cult
do it
gems and the witch
separately,
power
not on
updates,
this stream. We'll
couldn't
see
have
that.
all the changes onto the side, so we're going to go into a bit more numbers here. So let's take a look at what we made updates on the occult gems. I think on the whole, occult gems were pretty strong. They were really hitting that mark of they were appealing to put into your jewelry, the rings and the amulet. And they give you a lot of defense and a lot of other bonuses. Some of the bonuses maybe a touch high, so we brought some of them down by just a little bit.
Right.
We still think on the whole these are going to be really exciting moments to be able to craft these once you get those heads.
I mean, okay. What do we see here? Sorry to pause again. I'm gonna try to be brief here. What do we see? Damage buff. I'm not sure if this is a reduction buff or damage buff again, but it's mostly damage buffs and survivability buffs, and that's it. It's basically increasing your stats. It doesn't have a cool effect. It doesn't have something crazy to it. Blizzard, we want crazy interactions. We want crazy animations. We want something that looks cool. Something to chase, something to experiment with. Not just boost our damage with another 1000%. Or make ourselves invulnerable so we can just stay in the middle of the, I don't know, of the Infernal Hordes and take 0 damage.
I really like to call out the update to Witching Hour here at the end.
Which is not the point, of
This
course.
is a occult gem that modifies your core skill to gain the Eldritch tag, and that enables some really interesting synergies that you'll be able to explore once you get your hands on the full witchcraft system. But when it had a timer of 5 seconds in order to do this, it was really hard to build around.
Yeah.
And now reducing that down to 1 second means you can much more consistently benefit from this effect, and it really opens up the build possibilities with the Witching Hour occult gem.
It was a bit too slow paced for how fast Diablo
Okay, but
4 is
core
right
skills
now,
are
but, with
spammable.
1 second on the
This would be
timer, it
so
should be a
much
lot more
cooler
fun.
for ultimate
For
skills
sure.
and skills with
We've also made
greater
some updates
cooldown.
to the witch
Come on.
powers themselves, and for the witch powers,
I
we
just
think
don't get it.
in general these were probably a touch weaker than we'd like. So across the board, there's some numerical improvements, especially on the poison frog servant, my favorite,
yes.
the little frog.
The
pet
wee
that's following-
beastie.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, he got a big buff. Love that guy following us around and spitting the poison and exploding if he ever dies.
Yep.
Okay, this is
So,
kind of cool
on the
that
whole,
they've
we think witch
implemented
powers
some
were
other
pretty good.
things
I love how flashy
beside
they
you.
are in particular. and just how impactful they look and feel. Art team did a great job with all of these.
Knocked it out of the park.
All right, and with that in mind, there's also still one additional new witch power that we did not have on the TT.
Oh,
Yes, we've got the Force of Will. Now, this is a Psyche witch power that empowers your overpowers.
Yeah, this
When
is
you kill
gonna
an enemy,
be.
your next overpower is going to gain some increased damage up to.
Let me
11
guess.
level.
Hammer of the
And
Gods
if
is
you
gonna
rank up to a
deal like
strength 4,
quadrillion
it'll empower
damage.
your next two
You know,
overpowers.
quadrillion damage
This
once
was one
again.
that we were not able to get out on the PTR in time. It had some issues.
So is
but it was
Pulverize.
in development.
I'm
But
giving
for the
it to
actual
you.
season launch, we're going to have this
Spoiler
out there and
alert.
available. We know it kind of really rounds out the roster of which powers that were available.
Yep.
We had, one less Psyche power than the others. This is
I mean,
the
it's
last
kind of cool
one,
because
and
usually
we
the
didn't really have
overpowers
too
were
much
way
supportive
undertuned
overpower
back in the
builds,
day,
and
but
we do.
now
So really excited about this one and help to empower.
it's nothing really
overpowers.
competitive there. That's what I'm saying. I mean,
All right, so I think
doesn't
that
matter
wraps
if you
up
can.
all of our balance changes. Once again, check out
If
the
you
patch
deal a
notes for the
trillion
exact
damage or a
details.
quadrillion
But
damage, at the end of the day, you
hopefully,
still one-shot
gets
everything.
Your mind's turning for build crafting.
I don't
for
think
next,
this is the idea
when the
here.
season launches.
Yeah, there is absolutely a ton of chew on. Like, I went into this
But it's
stream
cool. I
actually
mean,
thinking
yeah,
I was gonna
sustaining
go
overpowered
and now I
damage
think I'm
is
gonna have
is
to
a
go
pain in
bar
the
with
ass,
Shadow
and it
Clone
always
Rogue,
has
like,
been
oh,
pain in
yeah,
the ass.
Sweet.
Got my decisions
Except
found.
for
For
the
sure.
Spiritborn
And
Banishlord
with the armor, you're gonna be able
Talisman
to
bugged
pick,
interaction.
one class and a bunch of builds from all of them.
But this
Excellent.
was
I think
this is a
what
different
better thing to get into
topic
now
anyway.
than tell us about the armory.
Oh yeah, I would love to. Yeah,
Okay,
so,
Season of the
for those who
Armory.
don't know,
Frosty.
The armory is a tool that you can use
It's your
to
turn, buddy.
basically save a loadout that you've constructed. So you're going to be able to save your skills that you've picked. You're going to be able to save
Yeah,
the equipment
okay.
you've used. You're going to be able
Thank
to
you.
save the Paragon points you've put in. And you're going to be able to imprint it onto one of these slots in the armor you see on the left here in this image. Like this build, or excuse me, this character has Crush Hand, Touch of Death, or Touch Set, Quill, Razor Wings, and Payback. So
Yeah, at least she get it right. So seems like she plays the game
It's really wonderful
because they really made a
because,
mistake. It's Touch of Death.
you know, if
the
you
right
want
name.
to try a different build, like if you want to try Touch of Death, but you've spent a really long time working on Crushing Hand, you don't have to worry about changing all of that manually anymore with the armory. You can just do it automatically. Once
I'm
you
still
select that
expecting
build,
a
you
lot of
save it,
bugs,
and then you
but
can swap
again,
it whenever
this
you
should
want.
have happened
These
so
build
many
slots are also
seasons ago.
character bound. So, you may
I'm not
take a
hating, I'm just
Spiritborn,
saying.
And then you decide you later want to swap to a Necro or, whatever. You're going to be able to ensure that you have a lot of variety to play in each character class. Another thing about loadouts is that they don't cost gold to change, so you're not going to have a bunch of significant gold overhead when you're actually swapping these, so you don't have to worry about that at all, which is very nice.
Imagine if you had to unlock. I mean, if you had to have Battle Pass to unlock this feature.
Cities, Dark Citadel.
Would have been so much worse.
Major focal points of season 7 and training areas. So
This was gonna be the tip of the iceberg. Sorry, guys. I don't know. It just came to my mind. This would have been crazy. Imagine if you can only unlock the armory if you get a battle pass. This would be insane. Oh my god. Anyway, sorry. Okay, let's get a bit more serious here.
Nice. The armory can be accessed through a bunch of different places in Sanctuary as well, including major cities, the Dark Citadel, the Tree of Whispers, of course, which is a major focal point of Season 7, and training areas, so that if you're trying to test certain things, you can really easily make adjustments without having to, spend a lot of time on that.
All right.
And finally, we've got a few PTR updates where we gathered feedback from the PTR. We have improved the button clarity from the PTR. If you see in the image the little highlighted white box section, that should be more clear than it was in the PTR. And we heard you guys about easier loadout deletion. We're going to make sure that that is much easier to do in 2.11.
Okay.
And next up, we have some gameplay updates. So these are just some miscellaneous things that are coming in Season 7 related to systemic gameplay. So I'll just go through these one by one here. We have Paragon Migration. So any experience that you earn on your Paragon level
Sounds pretty
in
straightforward.
the seasonal realm,
D3
once the season is
system.
over, are going to be added to your Eternal Realm your Eternal Realm Paragon.
Yeah, but here's the thing. No one plays
Paragon
Eternal.
XP in Season 6, and then Season 6 ends. All of that Paragon XP
No
is
one
going
plays
to be
Eternal,
added to
that's the
your
problem
Eternal
here.
Paragon level, which is going to make reaching Paragon level 300 a lot more attainable.
I don't know a single guy, and trust me, I've played with a lot of people. I don't know a single guy that plays on Eternal.
Paragon to make sure you can really reach the heights of that, even if you're just a seasonal player for the most part.
Yep.
When you hop
It's
into
an
the
obvious
realm,
thing
all
to
of
do,
that
of course.
drops.
It's like Diablo 3.
Yeah, and it's actually going to be
You
really
get
nice
to
'cause it's, I think
you
the
get
way I
2,000
think about it
paragons
is
in this
even if
season,
you
and
don't
then
play
they
the
transfer
eternal
and add
realm,
the amount
it's
of
kind of
XP
like
to your
a window into like
know,
how much
previous-
you've played the game and how much effort you've put in, and like you get to look at that number
previous
and you're
amount
like,
of
oh,
XP.
like, that just gets higher and higher. It's great.
Yeah, but again, I mean,
Next up we have some.
most of the
unique
people
power
already
roll
grinded up to
updates.
300. I
So
only
something that
didn't
you
do
might
it because
notice,
it was
when
so
you are
repetitive. I
finding
didn't
unique
want to
items
spend
is that
my time
if they
doing
roll
the same thing
ancestral
over
and they
and
drop
over.
with greater affixes, that doesn't affect the actual unique power roll itself in any way. So it was possible to find, for example, a 3 or 4 greater affix unique, but then the actual power roll itself min-rolled. And that could feel pretty deflating.
Oh, yeah.
Because you would get really excited that you found a unique that you wanted that had like all the GAs, and then you look and it doesn't
Alright.
actually feel very usable because the power roll itself was very low.
This
We're
actually is a
changing
good
this in
change.
Season 7. So now the power roll floor changes based on the number of greater affixes. that
Okay,
the
this
unique
is
has.
the way to
So the
do
more
it.
greater affixes it has,
Can't
the
tell you
higher
how many
guaranteed, roll
items
on
with
unique
GAs
power
I've
you're going to get. So
thrown
when
away.
you do see that 3
you know.
or 4 greater affix unique you want, you know it's going to absolutely slap. which
So
is
many
awesome.
useless GAs,
Definitely.
man.
That was
So many
Always a
useless
little bit of a
GAs
frustrating
there.
experience when you get really excited for an item drop, but then you're like, well, is it really better than what I currently have? You know, you had to stop and think about that based on the affixes. You know it's going to be powerful. It may not be guaranteed to be the best one, but it's going to be one of the more powerful.
Yeah,
ones.
okay, this
Yeah,
is reasonable.
And next up, we have some other ancestral item changes. So something you may have noticed if you were playing a lot of Season 6 is that ancestral items
Oh, nice.
are the only ones that can have the top
Thank you, Ochi.
aspect rolls. And what that meant
Gonna log
was
in
that
later, play a bit.
those ancestral items were still rolling randomly. So like, let's just say for the sake of argument that a non-ancestral item with an aspect could roll up to rank 8 on that aspect. But then the ancestral version could roll up to rank 11. That ancestral item was still randomly, like totally randomly rolling among all the different ranks. And
Okay.
that made it seem really, 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 what didn't seem, it was very rare to find the top end of these aspect rolls, which actually wasn't the case in previous seasons. And we were all feeling that in Season 6. And for the completionists out there and the people who want to make sure that they have the best version of the aspects that they can, we wanted to make sure that we changed that. So now when you
Yeah,
find these
this
ancestral
is
items, they
another
are gonna
reasonable
gravitate
thing
more towards
that
the
should have
top end of
happened,
those
and I'm
aspect
very
rolls,
happy
and
that
it
they
should be
listen to the
much
community.
easier to actually fill out your collection of
If
aspects
there's
that
one
you're looking
thing
for in Season 6.
that Blizzard are doing,
And
guys,
then
it's
as
that
just
they're
a totally
putting
separate but
effort
wonderful
and
thing,
trying to listening to
we
their
were working
community.
on
That's for
like
sure.
how often ancestral items should actually drop as a baseline, and we've just bumped that up in
They're
Season
all
7.
joking
So
around
you
and
should,
everything,
in
but
general, find
they're
more ancestral
trying.
items than
It's
you did
just that
before.
it's happening
And
so
this is
slow.
like a very
And
something
the
that feels very
competition is
small, but
ruthless
has a
right
big
now.
impact on the season as a whole. So
That's all
that
I'm
should
gonna
feel
say.
a lot better in Season 7 as well. And finally, something else that we were noticing in Season 6 was that people were finding tons
Gem
and tons
crafts,
of gem fragments, and sometimes even
Gem
crafting
fragments,
gem fragments.
crafting jewelry. Oh,
And
this
this
is all
problem was
D3.
exacerbated in Season 6, and we want to make sure that you have something
Those
to
of
do
you who
with
played
those gem
D3
fragments.
and
So
remember
we
that
created a gem
crafting
fragment
and
conversion,
rerolling of
at the jewel
jewels
crafter.
happened with
So we have a little clip to just show
with
what that looks
gems,
like
right?
here. So we're in Zarbanzet as a sorcerer, and we're next to the jeweler. We're going to talk to them. There's a little tab where you can go to jewelry
Okay, that's a
crafting.
nice way to
And
find
once you're in
something
the late
to
game, you've already
to
crafted
do
all
with
your
those
grand gems. You don't
gems,
actually have
because
much to
usually
do
they
with gem
just,
fragments anymore. Now you can
you
just
know, they
directly
just end
convert
up
them
in
into
your
jewelry. So you can craft rings and you can craft amulets, and it will give you a little cache that will have
in
a
your
randomly
mats or
rolled
in
item.
your stash tabs.
And this
You
is
don't
just,
really
again,
do
you know,
anything.
it's a nice dump basically. Once
Unless you make a
wanna
note.
Just, once you finish all your grand gems and you just want to find some extra gear, and these can roll as ancestral items.
Okay,
which
that's
is
pretty
wonderful.
decent. That's a nice
And
example.
amulets and rings can, you know, they have a wide.
This isn't actually a bad amulet. I don't know if they recorded it like 20 times, but this isn't a bad amulet. It has movement speed, has intelligence. These are all desired rolls. It's not like ranks the skills, of course, but still. And the things they just said about the aspects and everything, again, this is something that should have happened some time ago, but since they were constantly evolving and changing stuff, it's only reasonable that it took some time. Anyway, let's move on.
Range of potentially useful stats, and so being able to just roll those more is really nice because you can actually like target farm the things you need.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excited for that.
Yep.
Because usually amulets are very, very
And
hard to gamble.
finally, we have some kind of more
And they end up worth like billions of
that should
gold,
be really
you know.
nice going forward season over season. So now that we're in season 7 of Diablo 4, it's possible that you may have made a character of any given class and you might be doing it again.
Class question
And
logs 15.
it's not always the most fun to go through the same content over and over. And so because of that, we wanted to make sure that you didn't actually have to do your class quest
What do you mean?
to unlock your class mechanic every single time you make a new character.
Oh!
So for example, if you made a sorcerer and you unlocked enchantments previously, you're not actually going to have to do that again. So when you hit level 15 on a new sorcerer in any realm, you're immediately going to unlock an enchantment slot.
Thank you.
Because the game knows that you already did that before.
Thank you.
You can, however,
This is
still
a
do the
good
class
change.
quest if you would like,
Finally.
but you do not have to. And again, just to reiterate, you do have to do the class quest at least once on any character, and then on your account, it's unlocked forever.
Great.
And to go along with
Okay,
this
there we
change,
go,
have a
finally.
new cache that we like to call archetype cache, or archetype caches rather. So these are basically themed goodie bags. So they come
Should
from
have
a
came
variety of
some time ago.
sources.
Should
You're
have
gonna get
happened
an
long
archetype
ago.
cache when you complete the class quest. You're going to get them periodically over the course of the season journey from different chapters. And then eventually you're going to start earning greater archetype caches as well, which have better stuff. But we have a clip here to basically just show off what an archetype
show
cache
us.
looks like and what doing
I'm
a class
interested.
quest looks like in Season 7. So we have a level 15 sorcerer here who's just going to go and do their class quest, which is the Legacy of the Magi over here.
Yeah.
And the reason that this character might want
like
to
the
do
first thing
class
you
quest
do
still,
after you
even
hit
though
level
let's
15.
assume that they have already made a sorcerer and have already unlocked their enchantment, is because they're going to be getting an archetype cache. So we're going to go through, we're just going to do all of the stuff for Legacy of the Magi, get through the dungeon. But then at the end, we're going to get an archetype cache. And archetype caches have items and a tempering manual that are relevant to a specific theme of any given class. And so I'm glad we have sorcerer here because the sorcerer themes are very straightforward. For example, pyromancy or fire is one of the themes in sorcerer. So here we see we have a pyromancy cache we got from completing the class quest. We're going to open it up. It's got 2 legendary items, a tempering manual, and some extra materials like bundled herbs and angel breath.
Are the legendary items random or?
Because it was a pyromancy cache, it came with a utility and a more offensive focused legendary.
Okay,
that are
so
related
the aspects
to
are
being
still
a
related.
pyromancy
This is fine
sorcerer.
actually.
It also came with a pyromancy related.
This is
tempering
good.
manual.
I like it.
So that really helps you get started on your journey.
But
as
again, this
a
is like
fire
beginner,
sorcerer.
casual,
So if you
friendly.
find something like that, you're right out of the gate, level 15. You're going to get a big jump in power, and you're going to be able to.
This is
die
only
with
gonna
one
be,
immune fire
you
sorcerer
know,
pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think what I really like about this change is that, you know, if you're just playing a new character, you're in the flow, you're doing the headhunts, you're leveling up, you ding. Hit
It's
level
just gonna
15,
make leveling easier.
Oh,
That's
now
all.
I got to go do this quest, otherwise I'm missing out on power. And sometimes, you know, you're in that
You
flow,
can get
don't
to
wanna
16 in
stop
no
and
time, I'm
change,
pretty sure.
Shift gears and go do that class quest. You now can do it on your own time, right?
Yeah.
You can instantly unlock that power from the class mechanic.
Yep.
And then whenever you get a chance, whenever you think, hey, I want to go do this quest, you can go do it and then feel rewarded for getting a nice archetype cache that really maybe pushes you in a certain direction if you're unsure of how you want to build your character. Can help to enhance, you know, the pyromancy, like you mentioned.
Yep, or frost, or lightning, or you know, every class has its own themes. So
That's nice.
it's gonna be
That's
fun to dig
nice.
into that.
This is not bad actually.
All right.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think even for that like early game too, like when you're kind of scrounging for materials and uniques, it is kind of difficult to like hit that next power level. So knowing that you have like a guaranteed, now optional quest to go to get that power, and I can speak for Twitch chat too. They were very, very excited to see that.
Again, sorry to interrupt, but this cache is mostly, you know, valuable because in the early end game you really change items every 2 or 3 minutes or so. So this is good if you want to target farm not items but manuals. and aspects. So basically, could help you a lot with the aspects.
You did
Nice.
not have to do the class
Oh,
quest
yeah.
anymore,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
that it gives you this optional, power boost in a certain direction.
We wanted to make sure that it wasn't worthless if you had already done it a lot. We wanted to make sure that there was still something there to feel like it was a meaningful quest. So.
But not so good that you feel like you're missing out if you're
Exactly.
taking care of things over in the headhunts and things like that.
Yep.
Well, that brings us to our Q&A portion of the stream. So we're going to bring
Oh,
Dan
boy.
Tangway back.
Oh,
and
boy.
we're going to answer some of your hard-hitting questions. So thank you for everyone who's dropped
Endgame
questions in
when?
Twitch chat throughout the stream. I've also been laughing at your commentary throughout. It's been pretty good.
Oh boy.
So first off, I want to drop a question from Doggo. Asked, will there be a mid-season patch with balance changes?
Yeah, I can talk about that. We're
Wow,
currently planning
really?
to have a
Are you
mid-season
guys asking
balance
for
patch like we do
mid-season
every
patches
season.
from now?
I just want to reiterate some of the philosophy around mid-season patches as well. For our mid-season patches, we're mainly looking at taking the data from when the season launches. So honestly, we haven't started looking at the mid-season patch at all because it's so heavily driven by what actually happens when the season launches. What builds are performing well, what builds are not performing well. If there's anything that is bugged or broken to the point where it's trivializing the game, that might be something we look at. In general,
you didn't do it
for
last season. You
mid-season
didn't
patches
do
that
it the
happen,
seasons
in
before.
the middle of the season, we're primarily looking to bring up the underperformers.
Sorry to pause this again, but this is kind of I don't know what to say here. They never nerfed the build before. At least I don't remember a build getting nerfed in the mid-season patch. Whatever it's broken is broken, and since they're tolerating a lot of their casual players base, let's put it this way, they don't really wanna upset anyone, so that's why they always choose the side to not nerf things. They usually buff a little bit and add something to the builds that are underperforming, but no. The real question should be not the real question here should be revolving not around balancing changes. It should be revolving around end game, new content, new events, interesting, more engaging events, achievements, something to hunt, something to make people log in and play the game again. Because there's gonna be a lot of people who completed everything in this season for like a couple of weeks or 3 weeks, and there's still gonna be like 2 months left out of the season. And if you don't give them anything, to hunt or to look for, what are they gonna do? Make an ult, go through this seasonal quest line all over again? I don't think so. There's some people. I'm not saying that no one is doing it, but again, the real question here should be what kind of new events and changes, like new content, are you planning to release? I hope that someone is going to ask them what kind of content can we expect, because it's been 6 seasons so far, and the end game portion in D4 is just been, I don't know, it's so little. I really don't want to give this example. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's I don't do it just to say that Blizzard are bad or anything like this. I don't want to start a war or anything, but seriously, early access PoE2 has more endgame content than D4, and early access is for 40 days now, and D4 is already like year and a half around, so that's all I gotta say here, basically.
Or fix issues of interactions that maybe aren't quite seeing the spotlight that we were expecting them to.
Mm-hmm.
We're not really looking to take the top builds and nerf them.
Right.
Because we know players have already had time to invest in their characters.
Yeah.
They've got the gear. They've leveled it up. They've read build guides like, hey, how do I make this character?
Same
and
that
we
I
feel
told
like
you.
if we're taking those down in the middle of a season, that really does a disservice to
Right.
players. That you are afraid of making the powerful thing because it might get nerfed in the mid-season. So that's something we avoid. There are, of course, sometimes rare exceptions when they're
but
so far above.
why do you allow it in the
bar,
first place?
Or they are literally breaking the game due
Right.
to performance-related issues, which occasionally pop up. Those things we still will address when we need to.
Yeah, like
but in general, mid-season patches are not for nerfing
like the
strong
Ego
builds
builds
if they're just strong. And
and
that's partly
Spiritborn
why
last
during
season.
season 6 we knew that Spiritborn
It was still
a
working
very
the
powerful
same way,
class.
it's just
Like,
less
no
buggy.
getting around it. It was definitely stronger than the other classes on season 6. But that was okay. We didn't want to make any kind of snap judgment of like, oh, we need to nerf it here in midseason. We know players had been invested into it, and we want to respect their time and investment into that.
It's important that there's a sense of security.
Yeah, but
in
this
taking
is
a
this is
build
the
and
way
knowing
that
it is
you're
going to
gonna
stay
learn about the
viable when
class
you're
and
playing it throughout the
its
season.
interactions and
and
everything.
kind of as a
mechanics.
corollary to that,
stuff.
whenever we do seasonal updates, like launch a brand new season, that is more when we're going to look and say, hey, what is dramatically overperforming? What is crowding out the rest of the roster? Like Spiritborn during season 6 was maybe crowding out some of the other classes.
Yeah.
We take the seasonal resets as a time to say that's when we're going to bring those builds down. And that's when everyone is starting fresh on the new season. And so you're not losing that much of time investment if it's starting all fresh again.
Yeah.
Okay.
And on the system side, in terms of mid-season changes, it's really important to us that we have a very targeted approach to systemic changes in mid-season patches. We want to make sure that we are gathering as much data as possible and as much information as we can to ensure that any tweaks we make aren't going to cause waves or changes that we weren't expecting or are undesirable. So we really want to gather as much like telemetry and data as possible from like how people are actually experiencing the season, and then kind of patch those pain points that people that we all find together, and we want to wait to make sure that we're doing it right. So we really want to know how people are going to be playing season.
I can say
we'll
so many
basically
things right
figure
now,
out
but I
what
don't
needs
want to.
happen and
I don't
change
want to
from
pause
there.
the video again.
Yeah, and that's why so much of the feedback from PTR, or even just throughout the regular season,
yeah,
all the
feedback is
we
their
really
word,
listen
for
to
sure.
it, and it's so important to us to make sure that we can make Diablo 4 as best as we possibly can. It's really critical that we get that feedback and we're able to iterate on that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Awesome. That is a super thorough answer for the mid-season
sure,
patch.
yes.
I mean, like,
Okay,
I'll
but
take all the
again, I
information
mean-
you got, so that's
Yeah.
fantastic. This one's probably for you.
Give
Aisling,
us a
from-
good season launch.
boy,
Give us an
okay.
interesting
Bear
season.
with me here.
Don't worry about the mid-season patch.
Pap Syrup Sagan, do the class quest caches scale to the level when they're opened?
Oh, yes, they absolutely do. So you can get it early or you can get it later.
Okay.
But the archetype caches that you find in the class quest aren't actually the only place you can find archetype caches. You're going to be able to get more from the season journey and other sources as well. So they're not exactly like a super finite supply. So you don't have to think too hard about like exactly when you should be opening them. The class quest is just one among many sources that you can earn an archetype
Nice.
cache.
You don't have to like sit on it throughout the whole season to be like, all right, when am I going to pop this thing?
Yeah.
And nice to have some extra goodies as you're on your way to get Dorian the Raven. Of course, you know that.
Because we know that's the most important
love
thing.
Dorian.
Honestly, either way is fine.
Dorian's pretty cool.
I've always opened this.
Also,
I've
on a
never
similar
saved this
thread, the
because
Cluster
I
KC
know that
asks, is the
I'm
class
gonna
quest
reach
unlock
endgame
retroactive
soon,
as
and
of
I'm
right
not
now,
gonna-
or only after we complete it this season.
I'm gonna use
Yeah,
those
so
caches
as
to
long-
boost
it's
myself and to
retroactive.
get
So
the
as long
aspects
as
I'm
you've
missing or the
completed,
uniques I'm
you've
missing.
done the sorcerer quest before on a sorcerer at any point during Diablo, you're good to go.
Nice.
Sorry,
From the Discord,
kind of missed this one. Sorry, guys.
as of right now, or only after? He asks, is the class quest unlock retroactive as of right now, or only after we complete it this season?
Yeah, so as long it's retroactive. So as long as you've
Nice.
completed, you've done the sorcerer quest before on a sorcerer at any point during Diablo, you're good to go.
Nice.
All right, so
From
basically
the
everyone is
Discord,
getting this.
Bacterial, cool name. Can we expect the summon tag to work with minion thorns? And any update on bristleback aspect working with minions?
I believe they should. I'd have to look into precisely minion thorns. I know that was a stat that your summons can inherit your thorns. That was a stat that I.
This is a very specific question.
I'd have to look into exactly bristleback aspect.
Like,
but
okay, it's
as a general
interesting,
matter,
but
our philosophy on
a little bit
minion thorns
too-
and minions
I
in
don't
general
know,
is if you
build
think it should
specific.
work, it should. The interactions of
Although
when you
it
deal thorns
has
damage, it should. If your minions are the ones triggering that thorns damage, it should count as if you
It
had
has a
melted.
relation to what they've been saying about the minions and
don't have that right in front of me, that particular
inheriting the
interaction,
stats
but
and
that
everything.
is our philosophy, and if that's not happening, then we'll look to address it and improve that moving forward.
Cool. Thank you. Just had a question.
Me and Torrance build kind of sounds good, to be honest.
AoE Alina, are there plans to reduce visual clutter such as an opacity slider? I love Sorcerer and Spiritborn, but the visual effects are hindering my party.
Yeah.
I think that would probably.
You haven't tried
be something
PvE2,
that we would have to
party.
talk to the UI team about and the folks over in VFX. It's something that we've been
But,
grappling
yeah,
with throughout the life of Diablo.
they have
because,
a point.
There's so much happening, especially when you have an in-game build. And if that gets so out of hand, like with new seasonal mechanics or new powers or legendary aspects that we create, it's something that we'll be taking a look at every time something like that comes up.
Yeah, I totally get it too, because like when you're playing Spiritborn, like you know what to look for as you're casting these abilities, but if you're just around it, then it can be a little overwhelming. Like when I have friends that come by that perhaps haven't played a Diablo game before, they're like, how do you know what to look at? It's like, you just kind of figure it out. But I can totally see how that could be a bit of a distraction on the screen. Ooh, Anjin-san. For the Q&A, how do Hydras work with the new summoning changes, and how does burning damage work in comparison to poison?
Yeah.
Another very technical question.
Yeah, absolutely. So luckily, I did include the Sorcerer Conjurations in the Summons update when I talked about them.
Yep.
But actually, for the most part, the Conjurations were already behaving this way. And that was part of the inconsistency that I kind of had glossed over, said, hey, they were inconsistent. And, since now we're in the more technical part, the inconsistency was that most of the Sorcerer Conjurations were already behaving the way that we wanted them to.
Right.
Where the damage was being attributed to the player, and it was actually the Necro minions and Shadow Clone and Druid companions primarily that were not as interactive as we would have liked.
Right.
So with that in mind,
Okay, but
there's
then
actually
again,
no real
we
functional
go to
changes
the other.
the way that Hydra works with this. I don't believe Hydra was really touched, but it was actually used as kind of the example of how we wanted to implement and make the other summons work.
Yeah, but again, this is a long topic. I'm gonna leave it for some other time. Sorry.
One question I do want to take really quickly that I've seen throughout chat, I mean, it was really hard to ignore. People are asking where Adam was. I mean, I think we just have to address it straight up. Adam Fletcher is no longer with Blizzard. Which
Oh
is really
boy,
too sad.
come on! We really
You won't
liked
really be
Adam.
seeing
He
him
was a
in
cool
whole lot
guy.
of other streams, so really sorry to disappoint chat, but you're stuck with him.
I was
Just kidding.
expecting.
He's
Oh,
my God.
Just kidding.
Psych.
Adam staying forever.
they trolled
Adam
us.
in the room
They
with
trolled
us
us
right now.
because we saw new faces.
To
Come
be
on.
clear, Adam has literally sat
I was kind of surprised I didn't
to
see.
the
I mean,
left
the
this
devs,
entire
yeah,
time.
sure, but I
Just,
didn't
like,
see
for
Adam
the whole
there.
stream, just hanging out,
Who's
checking
usually
out, watching
hosting
chat,
these.
so,
But anyway.
yeah, Adam is here to stay. Do not worry.
Got me. Got me in this one.
All right, love from Judith.
This was a nice
Stash
distraction
space is
from the
already a
serious
problem
topics.
for anyone running multiple characters.
Yeah.
Are there any plans to change armory loadouts so that they will not be stored in stash?
It's something. The armory is very new. We knew that the community really, really wanted the armory, and so we wanted to get out a version of it that we, was serviceable to get started. But we know it's a really, really important topic for the community, so it's something that we're going to continuously look at, and we're going to be looking a lot at feedback on the armory to make sure that it's as smooth as possible all the time. And to that end, we will be taking that into consideration.
Everyone
No concrete
expects
plans
some
right
bugs.
now, but it's something, it's one of the topics that we have.
When I used it, there were some
And
bugs, and
our
it's
ultimate
quite
goal
hard.
is
I
to make
mean,
the
it's
armory
complex.
just basically the most streamlined version of itself that it can be. So look for armory improvements in the future for sure.
Awesome, cool. And we got our last question for the Q&A. This is actually
kinda
two-parter
obvious.
from both of you. We have Poseidon Bobby was asking Charles, does your shirt glow in the dark?
I haven't tried, but it looks like it.
looks
What the
like
hell,
it.
man? What are
It
these
should.
questions,
It looks like
guys?
it.
Come on, get
For
real.
sure would light up.
I am being told it doesn't, and I demand a refund. I would like to get a glow-in-the-dark Lilith shirt now.
What a ripoff, man.
And then on a similar vein, Aislinn, Radio Biology was asking, can you buy that sweater?
You can.
Can you buy this
I
wonderful
did.
holiday Lilith's Christmas sweater? I
Don't ask me where I
don't
bought
know.
it from, but you can
Adam is saying
obviously
it's
if I
sold
have
out.
it.
It's sold out. It's sold out.
I'm
Sold out for
located in
another year.
Bulgaria, and if
It's
I
one
still
of a
have it,
kind.
then
We
that
did
means
have a
most
different
of
holiday sweater this past year, so there
most
should,
of the
I mean, hopefully be
people
another
out
holiday
there
sweater next year. No guarantees, but
Yeah.
should also be
but,
able to get
yeah,
it.
if you do see those holiday sweaters in the shop, get them before they're gone.
There's always like really wonderful merch online for
Yeah.
Diablo. I love taking a look at it. So if you like Diablo
Which is
merch
real
and you
cool.
want something like this, definitely check
It
out.
just has something to do
yeah.
with other things that Blizzard release. It's expensive.
That brings us to the end of the stream. I want to give a really big thank you to Aislinn, Charles, Dan Tanguay.
What?
Thank
Wait
you
a
so much.
second. Is that all? Really? Where the hell is it? Why is no one asking about the end game? What is that? They've asked like 3 questions. Are
For
you
hanging
kidding
out
me?
with us all the way in snowy Albany, New York. I hope
Oh
it's
my
not
goodness.
too terribly cold.
Not too
This
bad.
was
Okay, glad to hear it. Glad
I have
hear
to
it.
say that
it was
room
barely an
looks
hour and a half
freezing.
stream.
It's like
Yeah,
a dungeon.
it
I
does
was
look very
expecting
cold.
more.
It's a little chilly, yeah. But I got my jacket on. I'm all right.
Oh my
Good.
goodness.
Nice. Glad to hear it. But yeah, thank you all for joining us. And
What?
Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, everyone, thank you for staying tuned and checking out everything that's to come with Season of Witchcraft. Like we mentioned throughout the stream, patch notes will be dropping after the stream. We did have our blog that launched on Tuesday
Okay,
as
maybe
well.
maybe we've
Also,
missed
I gotta give a
something.
massive shout out again
Maybe
to our
maybe we
production
can
team. Those are
cover it
faces you don't see
in the
that
patch
put
notes.
A ton of blood,
I'm
sweat, and
gonna
tears
I'm
in
gonna
the
open the
show.
patch notes after this.
These heads are absolutely disgusting, and I don't know if anybody needs more of a reason to brush your teeth, but don't end up looking like that guy.
Okay.
Season of Witchcraft does start on January 21st at 10 a.m. PST, so be sure to go in. And for anyone who hasn't yet completed
boy.
your season journey, your battle pass, check your seasonal stash or eternal stash as well.
I'm
before
quite
these items
surprised.
disappear. But yeah, we got Season of Witchcraft on January 21st.
Honestly,
Super
I was
excited to get into it.
expecting way more
Thank you from all of us
questions
with
here from the
Blizzard,
community.
And we will see you at the Trio Whispers.
Thanks, guys.
Alright, so that was the whole thing here. Huh. This is interesting. You know what? I'm gonna try and look for the patch notes here. Season 7 Diablo4 patch notes. They said that they're gonna release those, but I don't know. Maybe they're gonna release it on their website, or because I can't see anything right now. News. Where the patch notes, eh? Where the patch notes? View season? Oh wait, I think I saw something there. I think I just saw something, but I'm not sure if this is the right one. Where was I? What the hell happened now? Oh boy. Season of Witchcraft. Alright, so patch notes. Do you see patch notes here or anything? Oh man, give me the patch notes. Maybe it's in forum or something. Oh, is it this one? January 16 patch notes. Okay. Oh, this looks like patch notes to me. All right, so let's see what we have. Spiritborn. This is updates from PTR. But this is only for the new witch powers, though. There's nothing really general there. I'm just gonna try and find something else there. Aspect changes, preparing have radiations. They basically buff the skills. It's mostly buffs here. They remodified some of the passives there for the barbarian. Yeah, the new items. Druid. Last rate. Critical strike damage getting bonus reduced from 40 to 30%. Can now be cancelled when using the skill again. Oh boy. Raging Shred. Wow. Again, there's nothing really new here. Oh boy. I'm just gonna scroll down a bit more, but I don't see anything here. Okay, unique items, strike a strong bonus damage from Super Bowl lightnings. Yeah, this is the sorceress item. Bug fixes. Season of Witchcraft. Gameplay. And other bug fixes. So that's pretty much it. I'm not gonna go through everything now because they covered most of these stuff. It's just more details and some more in-depth information, but I was just curious to look at this if in case we see something different that they forgot, but I honestly doubt that they're gonna forget to mention anything new in the end game. It's too bad that they didn't add nothing to the end game. They just added seasonal mechanics and oh boy. Alright guys, so honestly, thank you for everyone that's joined our stream today and who stayed and listened to my nonsense. I don't know what you guys think. I know some of you are not D4 players, and I really don't wanna sound negative here, but the truth is, yes, there's some nice things implemented there, but my honest opinion is that there is not really anything new or revolutionary in the interaction. It's mostly, most of the things are just boosting your speed in the game, like in terms of DPS, in terms of the whole playthrough. But I don't really, or at least I can't remember them saying anything about something new or different or some kind of a new challenge or a new end game mod or things like that. So I really don't know what to say here. I mean, I was expecting a little bit more. Yes, it's great that they kind of learn their lesson and try implementing all the good practices, all the best practices from their previous seasons, which is fine. But again, I mean, once I unlock everything, what do I do? I mean, unless I experiment with the builds and see and compare which one is more broken than the other, what else is there for me to do? What am I about to chase? Because honestly, Paragon 300 it's not worth chasing at the moment. Tier 150 is not worth of chasing. They haven't mentioned anything about leaderboards. I mean, forget the end game. I don't want to brag about the end game only. They haven't told us about leaderboards. I mean, if I haven't missed anything, there wasn't a single time that anyone mentioned something even close to leaderboards. And how can you expect competitive gaming if there's no leaderboards. I just don't know. I really don't know here. It's gonna be interesting to see other content creators' point of view. I have a few people in mind already, and I'm pretty sure that some of them are gonna be like on the same, on the very same page as me, because like 90% of the talks were regarding to the season and the seasonal mechanics, which would be fine if the game already had like huge or enough end game content. But again, I mean, the only end game thing you have is Pits, Lilith, T4 bosses, which is not really considered an end game to me, and Infernal Hordes, which again, I mean, the only thing competitive that I like about Infernal Hordes, and I consider competitive, is actually doing T4 Hordes in a way that, of course it's a little bit more RNG involved, but still, being able to do Infernal Hordes and just try to get at least 1,000 ether or something like this, chasing your maximum ether farmed per 10 waves. This was something that's usually not, there's no official leaderboard for it, or no separate competition, no dedicated competition for it, but still, it's something that's interesting to me. And this is one of my favorite end game mods that I prefer doing, rather than just, farming health sites or just doing pet runs and things like this, because I was able to push the pit. And the thing is, you don't really wanna push the pit if there's no leaderboards, and if a certain specific class is broken, or if there's just one build that's way too broken. And yeah, again, in Diablo 3, the Greater Rift, which is the equivalent of the pit in D4, was so much fun. It was so much better, because not only it had leaderboards in it, but the way you're building up your progress, the way you're, making progress through the pit, through the rift, sorry, the choices you have to take. This is what actually defined you as a gamer, as a good top tier gamer there. Because if you've grinded enough paragons and you're just having a better gear and infinite stats, you can speed run it. But the thing is, to be, at least in D3, the thing that always made some nice impression to me was if you're able to clear the final rift level, if you were like, I don't know, with less paragons than the others. Let's say if the average player has 2,000 paragons and you have 1,500, and you were still able to clear 150 rift, that's something exceptional. That's something, to look out for. But yeah, again, D4 is not the same case, so I'm quite disappointed. I hope that they come up with a solution. So far, what we see is mostly quality of life changes and just new season mechanics. But even in the new season mechanics, there's nothing that really looks challenging. Of course, I'm not saying that you're going to be, it's going to be too easy for everyone. I'm just talking about people who usually play and just complete the whole content in a week or so. All right, so that was my takeaway here. Sorry if I was too much. I'm still gonna play the season and see how it goes. I'm gonna try and stay positive here. I don't wanna I know that maybe I'm comparing it too much with Path of Exile right now, but it's because I mostly play PoE now, and that's the reason. I'm gonna try to, you know, I'm gonna try and try not to do it in future, especially once the season starts. So I'm just gonna have fun. I'm gonna maybe try and speedrun the game with some of the challenges. I'm gonna think about what kind of challenges should I put. Probably it's gonna be something like level 16 such time, and then you know, Torment 4, then probably all Torment 4 bosses, then Lilith, then let's say like tier 100 bits, stuff like this. I'm gonna think about some challenges that I should take, and I'm gonna try to do a speed run there. All right, guys, so that's pretty much everything here. Again, thanks for coming by and thanks for watching. I'm gonna take a break now. Wish you all the best. And yep, see you next time.